Today we want to learn, we want to think. I want you to use your mind because that's what God works with, the mind. He's not interested in your hands nor your body or in the form you sit down or kneel down. The flesh is religious and has its appearances. But what's important is your mind, because in your mind, that's where your true identity is. And with your true identity is what we want to deal with. The Apostle Paul says, I have been crucified with Christ. With Christ, he was what? He's going to be? No, this is a position. Presently, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live. That I began to think about. What do you mean I no longer live? If I'm the one that's alive. No, you can't live. You are crucified. God sees you as a dead man. Your life here doesn't play a role. The gospel must be preached to you so that with the gospel you begin to live the new life that God gives you. So Paul experimented that, and he said, I have been crucified with Christ. And therefore he's so daring that he says, it is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, it is to say, he's not speaking of a position in heaven. Are we all here? Yes? Notice what he says, and the life which I now live in the flesh, to say, in my existence here on the earth where he lived, he says, what I now live in the flesh, he says, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. That is a tremendous mystery, because the apostle says that he no longer lives. And I've asked myself, Lord, how can I bring this to life that I may know that I am not living? I need to know if I am alive or is Christ living in me. It is to say, we must ask ourselves today if we are actually living or if Christ is living in me, right? Naturally, that you have to do it with the gospel. We have to explain this truth. Let's look to Romans 6:6 to see if it says the same, because he spoke to them clearly. Imagine in Rome, he had to speak this revelation clearly. Chapter 6 to the Romans. Are we there? Yes. It says in verse 6, and this you must know. If you don't know this, well, the life of Jesus is not going to live in you. Do you know that all religions of the world don't know this we're speaking about today? This, what we're speaking about. Because God sees you as a dead man. He sees you crucified. It's to say, God one day took the body of a person called Jesus of Nazareth, and God took that body and crucified it. So likewise, God sees the believer. He sees him crucified together with Christ the Nazarene.